Hey guys, what's up? Just a quick note before I get started on this. This is my first video where I've recorded myself doing digital art, and also I was looking up articles, and also I don't have an omnidirectional microphone, so at times the sound is all over the place. On top of it, you can hear me bump the mic a couple times because I'm drawing as I make this video, and then my cat starts to bang around my coffee cup. So I'm so sorry for all the background noise on this one. If you can bear with me, I will correct this and I will make the future videos much better. Let you get to the video. Hey guys, what's up? Inksmith back again. And today, covering a bit of a different subject while I make a bit of a different video. And this is just recording my digital artwork while I talk about an article and a couple videos I saw containing information about a sort of tiff or fight or argument, debate, drama, whatever you want to call it, beef between Mamoru Hosoda and Hayao Miyazaki. If you don't know these names that I've just said, I'm just going to go by Mamoru and Miyazaki. Mamoru did Wolf Children, Summer Wars, Belle. I think his latest movie was Mirai, which is about like a child that can go through time. And I believe, speaking of a girl who can go through time, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, he did that one too. So he's had some pretty extensive and great, I will say, anime movies. And of course, if you even know a little something about Miyazaki, you know he's the head of Ghibli and has made like Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away. I mean, you know, Ponyo. All of his stuff is like the most famous stuff. All right, he's the head of Ghibli. If you've seen even 1% of anime, you've most likely seen one of his movies. So apparently there's a beef with Mamoru and Miyazaki. And when I first read about it, when I first heard about it, I thought, wow, this is really strange that this kind of beef is what's happening. He says, this is Mamoru says, I do not think Miyazaki has confidence in himself as a man. He was at a film festival and speaking about Miyazaki, he said, at the festival, Hosoda said, I will not name him, but there is a great master of animation who always takes a young woman as his heroine. And to be frank, I think he does it because he does not have confidence in himself as a man. This veneration of young women really disturbs me, and I do not want to be part of it. While Hosoda did not specifically name Miyazaki, AFP makes clear in its piece, as well as on Twitter, that Hosoda is referring to Miyazaki. Hosoda went further to say, unlike Miyazaki, he does not view women as symbolic figures of virtue and innocence because that plays into Japanese society's view of women, or this oppression of having to be like everyone else. So I understand what he is trying to say. He's trying to say that in general, Japan still is very sexist. I'm not going to try and deny that. You know, women don't get paid as much here. The wage gap is real here in Japan, very much so. Women are expected most times to stay at home and be a housewife. And probably the most troubling thing I see in Japan that really disturbs me the most, I really don't mind if people want to have a traditional old 1950s style housewife and salaryman relationship. I really don't see a huge problem with that. But the one problem I do see is that if the kid turns out like any bit wrong, he becomes a criminal or a violent offender or does very bad in school and drops out and becomes, you know, a juvenile delinquent, they always blame the mom. They always blame the mom. And they put like 100% of the blame on the mom. And I always think that's not cool. I realize, you know, the way you raise a child does somewhat obviously influence how they become as a person. But I think we're all in agreement when we say, you know, it's a partial percentage of environment and their own emotional development themselves and how they judge society and everything around them. So I really don't like to see that when women get blamed 100% for the way a child turns out here in Japan. It's so bad, in fact, that there's been famous actresses who had a son or sons, or this has happened multiple times. A son does something horrible. I remember this one actress. She had a 35-year-old son who raped an old woman in a park at nighttime. Now, her son hasn't lived with her for ages. Like, he's 35, he's a grown man, he lives in his own apartment. And he was arrested and put in jail. And she had to come out and give a public apology to everyone for this. And I was really confused. I'm like, what did she do? What was she living with him? Was he like, assisted living and she didn't take proper care of him? And my wife explained to me, like, no, she just has to come apologize because society blames her for not raising him right. And it's like, dude, he's 35. She's like a 70-year-old actress, and she has to come out and apologize for him. And her career was ruined because of that. Now, that's some of the extremes I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, a kid steals some candy from a shop and they put the mom in jail. It's not like that. So let's move on here to this battle between Miyazaki and Hosoda. Okay. Hosoda. Like, hold my soda. Okay. So I've got a couple references up, so forgive me if the sound cuts in and out a little bit with how loud I am on here. It's mostly because I'm actually looking at proper sources, not just going off the top of my head. So I looked into this more, and I thought, like, well, is he saying that because he thinks, like, Miyazaki doesn't have enough women in his movies? Because if you think about Miyazaki's movies, I mean, tons of them have a female heroine. I mean, we got, Spirited Away, Ponyo, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle. What's that one that's like Thumbelina? I watched it too. I really liked it, but it's a tiny girl who's no bigger than a thumb. They're all female protagonists and they're all heroes and they're all strong women. So I thought, like, that's a weird thing to say. Like, I don't think Miyazaki's shy about having women be the strong ones. Apparently, though, reading deeper into this, he's saying that he uses female protagonists because he feels like men are not able to be protagonists as well as women, because he doesn't see himself as ever being a protagonist in real life, which is a very weird assumption to make. I mean, I'm not sure where he's gathering that from. I think he's just looking at his films and saying that. So I read it into it even deeper. I was like, that's so weird. Like, does he personally know? Yeah, he does personally know Miyazaki. He worked at Studio Ghibli and was fired during the making of Howl's Castle. So finally, I got to the bottom of it, I feel like. I feel like this is kind of a bitter, beef between the two, because apparently, and I didn't really know much about this. I guess I'm learning a lot right now just reading about these two directors, and it's very interesting. Apparently at Ghibli, Miyazaki is a tyrant. Like, he is referred to as a Yakuza boss or a strong-arm politician, that you'll find out what the movie is if you're part of the creative team, and then he will dictate every aspect of what you will do. Now, I see why this happens. You got to remember, Miyazaki is old as hell, dude. This guy has been in the business pretty much since the business began, almost, since it became a popular medium across an international boundary. I mean, you think back to the earliest stuff and he's there. When this guy works, I want to clearly state his work ethic is on the level of ultra insane. Apparently, when Miyazaki starts a new film, he sleeps 2 hours a day. That's it. He never leaves the studio and sleeps 2 hours a day. They showed where he works. It doesn't look like luxurious or flamboyant or anything like that. It's literally still the same little artist desk, wood desk. There's no computers nearby. There's no iPad sitting around. There's no iPod in his ears. Does anybody still have an iPod?
Even, there's no TVs nearby. It's him, a wood desk, and a cup of pencils and pens. And that is it. He's old school. All right. And he sleeps 2 hours a night. There's a cot next to his little studio bed and his little setup of a wood desk. And that's what he does. He wears his apron. He's got those, I don't know what you call those things. They cover your forearms so that they keep them warm. It looks like a lot of old ladies in Japan wear those. I guess Miyazaki still wears them because he's from the old times. And I mean, this guy just works. I don't know how this guy is still living. I mean, I don't want to see Miyazaki die. Don't take this the wrong way. But dude smokes like a chimney stack, okay? This dude smokes like nonstop. Every interview you ever see with this guy, he constantly just chain smokes and then sleeps 2 hours a night and draws nonstop. I think one of the reasons probably he lives as long as he does is because I've heard once an artist is connected with their passion, they can often live a very long time because they're enjoying every single thing they're doing each day. It's not feeling like a job. It's feeling like fun, which I can somewhat understand this. But he's no slouch. He's no slacker. He's someone who knows what he's doing in the business and has worked his way up. But I can somewhat understand his tyrannical rule pushing some people away. And apparently this isn't just Hosoda. It's many others have actually left Studio Ghibli due to this. And there's a lot of animators who speak out that they hate Studio Ghibli. I was actually able to find other interviews with other bigger names who also had a complaint. And it was all people who had been fired or left or felt like Miyazaki had too much control, which I kind of understand. I mean, the man's worth about $50 million alone by himself. Miyazaki, I mean. So I'm pretty sure he sees himself as the big wig of Ghibli. And the fact that his films are even referred to as Miyazaki films just shows what kind of name he's made for himself in anime. So I think we can understand why he's tyrannical. Now, does that hurt creation? Does that hurt the input of new ideas? Does that hurt advancement? I think it does. I think it does somewhat hinder the future production and progression of Miyazaki films and Ghibli films. But you know what's interesting? People have asked Miyazaki about this. I looked at interviews about, they said pretty much, what do you think about people calling you tyrannical and controlling every aspect and not letting them have their own ideas? He said, it's true, I am. I come from a time where whoever was the CEO or the leader of a company shouted down to all his, subservient employees. I come from a time where men were stoic and didn't show emotion and gave orders. And he said, that's what I do. He said, I know it's not great, and I don't really see a future for Ghibli. So the man is like brutal, even to himself. He said he's pretty sure that Ghibli is going to fall apart because it has no future and has not progressed enough. And if you don't believe me, if you think, oh, come on, really, Inksmith, you really think he's that harsh on his own company? I want you to look up a video on YouTube called Miyazaki Watches His Son's First Film. Okay? Watch that and tell me the man is not the harshest critic of not just other anime, but himself and his own family's creations. This man watches the whole anime and doesn't say anything. He says zero. He lights a cigarette and starts walking out of the theater. And of course, the media crowds all around him. He's like, what do you think? What do you think? It's amazing, right? He's done so well. Like, he's just like, my son has a lot to learn. And then he just walks off set. Dude is cold. But I mean, I think that's what it took for him to make it where he is in the business. And I think he, saw his time. He's happy with what he did. He's probably going to die pretty satisfied. And he made his mark on the anime world. And I don't think he really is asking for anything more than that. Oh, and as far as his response to, Hosoda, nothing. Hosoda made this statement on Twitter. Do you think Miyazaki uses Twitter? No. Yeah, I'm sure there's like a Studio Ghibli Twitter. Do you really think that's Miyazaki on his iPhone being like, oh my God, I can't believe they said this about me. This is crazy. I gotta respond. Like that's, I'm quite sure Miyazaki's probably still got his rotary phone in his studio. So anyway, guys, I just thought I would break down that topic a little bit more. I saw this on Anime Man, Joey's Anime Man's video, and I was really surprised that Hosoda would like throw down with Miyazaki like this. And once I looked into it deeper, I realized there is sort of a grudge between him and Miyazaki due to the fact that he was fired. But also, he's not calling Miyazaki a weak man. He's saying that when he creates a female character, he only does it to make the female character the protagonist. Whereas Hosoda says, when I make a female character, I want to make her a developed character with great personality who can lead the film, like in Belle or Midai or many of his others, which, I mean, I guess he does. He does do a good job of that. So you got to commend him there. I think he should probably leave the beef on the DL and not bring it up. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that whole fight? I'd love to hear in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a switch up in videos. I know I've been doing a lot, one video every day, trying to find out what you guys like the most. Let me know when you do by hitting that like button. Have a great day.